Okay.
Well, Singapore is a developed country where taxes are so huge, and it's not a developing country like ours.
But what is their population?
Well, but their population growth rate is 1%, I believe.
Still, all I'm saying is we can get there not through the reproductive health bill.
Well, let me answer that. First and foremost, of course, with due courtesy to a very good friend and colleague, the definition of reproductive health has been twisted again. When we talk about reproductive health, it does not mean the fertility of women. Hindi po ganun yun. Na pag sinabing ang babae, you are there to be fertile. No. Please respect the rights of women. Kasi hindi naman po yun baboy. It's not a pig na anakan na nga anakan. Reproductive health refers to the state of physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity in all matters relating to the reproductive health system, its functions, and processes. When we talk about reproductive health, what's the well-being of a woman? If you deliver children consecutively for 3 times, have you seen kung gaano kanipis ang matres, the uterus, which is about to erupt? Now, on the issue of education, our bill does not only call for the distribution of contraceptives. It calls for proper education. Kasi naman po, paano naman malalaman ng ating mga tao? Kasi sinasabihan na pag gumamit ng condom, it's a mortal sin. To undergo tubal ligation brings you to hell already. So, these are misinformation being given to Juan de la Cruz and Maria. On the issue of why we are in poverty, because we need a lot of doctors, we need a lot of electricians, how can we send them to school? Na mismo nga, mismo yung nanay nahihirapan. We have a lot of mothers who would like to work. Good for all of us that we were privileged enough to have parents who had the capacity to send us to school. But on the issue of parents who would like to work, but who cannot work, because they have 5 kids, 7 kids, 8 kids. Good for us, we can afford nannies. Pero sila na gustong magtrabaho, why are we going to decide for them? Why don't we let them decide? Why don't we give them that democratic choice to decide for their own families? This bill is not about distributing contraception. It involves information dissemination, proper advocacy. It informs for providing for a system for those who would like it. Bakit natin pipigilan at sasabihin sa kanila, ito ang maganda sa inyo? Now, on the issue of the pills, I'm really sorry, but on the issue of the pills causing your miscarriage, I'm really sorry, but on a medical parlance, on a medical point of view, I cannot see the correlation. As we grow and as we age, spontaneous abortions is part of the normal cycle, lalo na pag late pregnancy. On the issue of teenage pregnancy, why? Because they experiment. I have given birth. I have assisted deliveries. I have delivered babies for 14-year-old, for even a 12-year-old. I have seen 13-year-old, 15-year-old kids having induced abortion, and we strongly condemn it. But when you talk to them, you have pity. You are talking to a child who do not even understand what she has been through. And why? Simply because they have the tendency to experiment among themselves. Tingnan nyo yung tatay, 12-year-old, 13-year-old. But if you tell them in school, reproductive health education is not teaching them how to make love. It's teaching them the physiological aspect of a man and a woman and the dangers of engaging in premarital sex. You teach them of the dangers of abortion. You teach them the consequences of indulging in that. Kasi pag hindi makapagtanong sa nanay at sa tatay, I even had one patient who refused and who was insisting that she is a virgin, because there was only partial penetration.
Pero I have something to say about that. Ang sa akin naman, why do you need a law? Specifically to say it's reproductive health. You can continue teaching that. And in fact, contraceptive is there. You don't need a law to say, pwede ito, yung contraceptive. When you say na yung tubal ligation is being used by the Catholic Church to say that you will go to hell. Even now, the Catholic Church will insist that you will go to hell. Would that law prevent these people from going through it? It won't. And you know what? The Population Commission has been there for almost 50 years, as far as I can remember.
But it has been penetrated by the church.
No, but that's not the point.
The point is, yes, we need a law. Why? Because we have leaders. Politicians are very temporary. We have leaders like Manila, who would insist on curtailing the distribution of these contraceptives, who would insist on not allowing the women to have their own choice. Eh, bakit po tayo magdidesider for them? Why are we going?
That is wrong.
We need a law simply because we need to inform the people.
Excuse me. If they cannot get it from there, they can always go to some other place where it is given.
You mean to say that you would like to, kasi dati ang nangyayari, in Manila, the mother who can afford to pay for their fare would have to travel to the neighboring city just to avail of the services. Don't you think that is very much against their rights?
This is the coercion.
Last point.
This is the coercion I'm talking about. From the point of view of the authors, it is not coercing women to be fertile. But you know what? When you talk about coercion, you're even coercing. There is part of the bill that says if you refuse to give tubal ligation or any other contraceptive prescription to any woman, a doctor can be penalized for that.
You asked me why. I'm a doctor and I see patients who deliver babies in this hospital. Then suddenly sasabihan ng doktor, hindi po pwede because we believe in the teaching of the church that doing tubal ligation is bringing that patient to hell. So what do you do? After giving birth, you transfer the patient to another hospital. Don't you think hindi ba tayo naawa sa tao?
Okay, we have a minute to go before the break, but ma'am, I wanted to ask you, earlier pinag-uusapan, bishops calling for, saying na politicians who support this bill or author this bill will not be given communion and that they will be, the church will campaign against them come 2010. Do you think that's fair?
Well, that's the role of the church, they feel. Would you feel bad about the law being considered by the church as immoral, and yet we want this law to pass. We say this is to free people, but you're now telling everyone the church cannot do that because of the separation of church and state. They're free to do that because that's their role.
Is it immoral for a woman not to want to be pregnant?
No, it's not. That's not what the church is saying. What they're saying is that this reproductive health bill is not the solution to the problem, and in fact, it is immoral because
then what
it
is the solution?
Not. The solution would be to help population as they grow and to improve education through.
Where will you get the resources?
So what you're saying, ma'am? So what you're saying, ma'am, is we don't need this reproductive health bill. We don't need population control. That's what you're saying.
Population will be planned if we will have good planning by the government. If we will have less of the corruption and we have more of the monies that the taxes that are being collected to go to the poor people and really educate them, I tell you what, that would be the more effective way of managing population.
Okay, we'll have to go to another break. Strictly Politics will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Strictly Politics. Still with us, Congresswoman DYY Vincent.